Exercise B1, listening. Part A. Each sentence in this passage is incomplete. Listen to the entire passage first and then listen again and put a caret where you hear a missing word. Listen once more to fill in the missing words. So, for example, you'll hear, in both ancient and modern times, the idea of dreams has been something that captures people's imaginations. So notice the word that goes in between something and captures. Something that captures the people's imaginations. That is a subject, and capture is a verb. Imaginations is the object. Continue listening to the sound file and insert missing words wherever they are needed. In Part B, listen to the dialogue and choose the best sentence to complete each conversation. Of course, after you try it, please check your answers with the answer key. In exercise B2, contrasting subject and object relative clauses, you need to look at the sentence and choose which word or phrase in parentheses to choose for the correct sentence. So, for example, the company was looking for people who bilingual in Chinese and English. So the correct word or words is were. People who were bilingual. The company was looking for people who were bilingual. Who is the subject? Were is the verb. Bilingual is the adjective complement. In number 2, there are certain rules of conduct which you are expected to follow. You is the subject. Are expected is the passive voice verb. You are expected to follow. To follow what? To follow rules of conduct. So rules of conduct is followed by the word which. This relative pronoun is the object of the verb follow. Go through the remaining exercises, mark your answers, and then check your answers with the answer key. In exercise B3, combining sentences. The first part, combine each pair of sentences and use a subject or object relative clause with who or which. For example, number 1, the computers were given to public schools in the area. Our company donated them. Them refers to the computers. And we can put these two sentences together to make a complex sentence with a relative clause like this. The computers, which our company donated, were given to public schools in the area. You could also write, the computers that our company donated were given to public schools in the area. It's also possible to omit this completely because it is an object relative pronoun. Number 2, free speech is a freedom. Many people in the United States take it for granted. It means a freedom. So now let's join these two sentences, these two simple sentences, into one complex sentence with a relative clause. Free speech is a freedom that many people in the United States take for granted. Or if we stick with the which in the instructions, we will write free speech is a freedom which many in the United States take for granted. And while you're doing that, you can incorporate what's indicated in Part B, which sentences can be rewritten using that as a relative pronoun. So I've given you the answer to this part in both the ones above. Complete the remaining pairs of sentence combinations and then check the answer key. In exercise 4B, writing definitions with relative clauses. You can write your own definitions for these people, places, and things. Use a relative pronoun with who, which, or that. So for example, what does a generous person mean? Generous person. A generous person is someone who helps other people. A generous person is someone who gives his or her time, energy, money, or skills to other people. Number 2, a best friend is a person, in this case, use who or that. Number 3, a good job is one, don't use who here, use that or which. A classic book is one, that, or which. So complete sentences like these, and then you'll have more practice making relative clauses. You can also practice making definitions about nouns from the dictionary. And you can write a true definition and a false definition for each word. So if you have a partner, this is a lot of fun, and you can use a relative clause. So for example, you could write, a carnivore is an animal that eats only meat. A carnivore is a person who works at a carnival. Then you can ask your friend to choose which definition it is. And then you can learn more words, and then you can laugh about the ones that are not true. So here's an example of asking a question. It's an or question. Is a carnivore an animal that eats only meat, or is it a person who works at a carnival? And then your partner needs to make one of those sentences. A carnivore is an animal that eats only meat, or a carnivore is a person who works at a carnival. So which one is the correct answer? A carnivore is an animal that eats only meat. That's the correct answer. All right, so those are fun things to do to make definitions about words. Now let's take a look at exercise B5, other relative pronouns. Complete the sentences with information about yourself. Use object relative clauses with where, when, or why. For example, on number 1, I remember the day. Should you say the day where, the day when, or the day why? You should say, I remember the day when. I remember the day when you were born. I remember the day when I met my husband-to-be. Number 2 says, I know a great restaurant. Should you use where, when, or why? Since this is a place, we should use where. I know a great restaurant where we can have dinner before the show. I know a great restaurant where we can hold your wedding. How about number 3? Was the year where, when, or why? Was the year when? Okay, so you could say 2013 was the year when I took my first advanced grammar review and editing class at Mission College. All right, complete the sentences about yourself. Do all 6 of them, and then choose one of the sentences from part A and develop into a short paragraph. For example, I remember the day when I received my job offer. I was so happy. I'd been filling out applications for weeks, and then you tell more about what happened on the day when you received your job offer. Exercise B6, object relative clauses with prepositions. Match each sentence in the first column with the correct sentence from the second column. Then combine each pair of sentences using a relative clause with who, which, or that. Put the preposition at the end of the sentence. Let's try number 1. Immigration is an issue, and we need to choose something from column A. Maybe you would say, immigration is an issue I'm very concerned about. Immigration is an issue that I'm very concerned about. Immigration is an issue which I'm very concerned about. All right, so I am concerned about the issue of immigration. So I'm very concerned about is the preposition, about something, I'm concerned about something. I'm concerned about this issue. It's an issue, and immigration is an issue that I'm very concerned about. So we have that as the object of the preposition about. Now, when you rewrite your sentences from Part A, you can make them more formal by moving the preposition to the beginning of the relative clause, like this. Immigration is an issue about which I'm very concerned. Immigration is an issue about which I'm very concerned. This is rather formal. So you won't hear people saying this type of sentence, but you might read sentences of this nature.